If you're still trading time for money in an AI economy, you're not just behind, you're being replaced.
It's the absolute unforgiving reality of the market right now.
Welcome to AI Market Mint.
Turn AI into income. Turn knowledge into freedom. Your digital HQ for smart wealth creation.
Listen, we have a seriously urgent deep dive today. I see this constantly in the industry. If you're sitting at your desk right now, staring at a blinking cursor, typing in some lazy, fragmented three-word command, and expecting an intelligent system to just do your job for you, you aren't just using the tool wrong.
You're actively bleeding capital.
Exactly. You are wasting time, wasting money, and quietly making your entire professional skill set completely obsolete. It drives me crazy.
It really is the single most expensive mistake happening in the white-collar labor market today. I mean, we are watching incredibly smart, highly educated professionals basically self-sabotage.
Oh, 100%.
And they do it because they just refuse to learn the basic mathematics and the syntax of this new operational era.
Right. And I really want to set the stakes right out of the gate here. For decades, we operated in this knowledge worker era, right? You put in physical time to process data.
Input time, get output.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now we are stepping into the intelligence era. You don't input time anymore. You input logic to generate output. And if you don't understand the rules of this new game, the market will bypass you without a second thought.
And that applies whether you're running a massive enterprise team or you're just a solo freelancer trying to stay afloat.
Yeah.
Prompt engineering is not some, weekend hobby for tech geeks anymore.
No, it's the absolute baseline of modern management. You have to know how to do this.
Right. So today we're going to break down exactly why people fail so spectacularly at this. We'll look at the hidden financial costs, which are staggering, by the way, and construct a real actionable framework to turn these systems into a highly leveraged digital workforce.
I want to start by validating a frustration I hear from founders every single day. Let's call it the garbage in, garbage out crisis.
Oh yeah, the classic.
We've got millions of people logging into these frontier class models every morning. They type in the most lazy, basic sentences imaginable, and then they sit back, cross their arms, and get genuinely angry when the output reads like a generic high school essay.
They feel cheated. They were promised this massive cognitive automation, and instead they feel like they're trying to wrangle a stubborn toddler.
Yes, they treat the interface like it's a magic search box, or worse, like a telepathic assistant. They type in a single keyword and expect a bespoke financial strategy.
And when the machine inevitably fails to deliver a masterpiece, what do? They blame the machine. They say, oh, the tech is stupid.
Which is mathematically false.
Completely false.
Ah.
From a technical standpoint, the machine is working flawlessly. It's executing exactly what it was given. The failure is entirely on the human operator. It's their inability to structure a logical command.
The machine is just a mirror, right?
Precisely. It is a cognitive mirror. If you can't articulate a problem clearly, with all its constraints and variables, you cannot expect a neural network to solve it. It doesn't have your lived experience.
Wait, hold on. Neural network, LLM, all that sounds technical. What does that actually mean for a normal person?
Simple. It just means a massive prediction engine trained on human language. Imagine it like a hyper-competent junior analyst who has read every book in the world but has absolutely zero common sense or context about your specific business.
I love that analogy. It's a blank slate. But professionals are constantly enraged when this blank slate fails to predict their internal, unstated thoughts.
Which brings us to the core issue. Zero-shot prompting. Mechanically, this means asking a system to perform a complex task without providing any examples, any context, or any parameters of what success actually looks like.
It's like, okay, imagine walking up to a total stranger on the street and demanding they bake you a multi-tiered wedding cake. You don't give them a recipe, you don't give them ingredients, you don't even tell them if you like chocolate or vanilla.
Right, and then when they hand you a dry sponge cake, you yell at them for being a terrible baker.
Exactly. You mathematically guaranteed a terrible result by withholding the instructions. And look, we would never tolerate this in a traditional corporate environment.
Never. Imagine you're a director at a finance firm. You hire a new analyst straight out of school. You walk up to their desk, hand them a sticky note with 3 words like Q3, market analysis, and demand a boardroom-ready presentation by 2:00 p.m.
The HR department would have a field day with you. You'd be fired.
because you gave zero context. But this is exactly what seasoned, highly paid professionals do with AI every single day. They zero-shot prompt their way straight into mediocrity.
And in business, mediocrity means you are bleeding capital. You are wasting operational resources every time you force a system to guess what you want.
It's a massive destruction of time.
But this brings up a huge question for me. If the results are this consistently bad, why are we wired to fail this way? Smart people usually adapt to tools. Why is this pivot so agonizingly hard?
To understand that, we really have to look at the historical traps we've all been raised in. This isn't just personal laziness, it's systemic. Our entire educational and corporate infrastructure over the last 40 years trained us to retrieve information, not synthesize it.
You're talking about the internet hangover.
Exactly. We spent 2 solid decades adapting our brains to search engines. Think about how you use Google. You don't type in full, syntactically correct sentences.
No, I type like a caveman. I type weather tomorrow city or best pizza near me.
Right. We developed this lazy shorthand keyword conditioning. We knew the search algorithm would do the heavy lifting to match our broken nouns to a pre-existing web page.
But an AI is not a search engine.
It's an intelligence engine. It generates original thought based entirely on the mathematical boundaries you set. You are no longer searching, you are programming using natural language.
So bringing those 15-year-old search engine habits into a modern AI interface, I mean, it's like bringing a bicycle to a Formula One race and standing there wondering why you're losing.
It's the completely wrong operational framework. But it's not just the internet. Traditional corporate communication is equally to blame here.
Oh, this is my favorite part. The unwritten office context.
Yes. Traditional management relies heavily on delegating to humans who possess shared context. An employee knows the company culture. They know the boss hates the color blue in presentations, even if it's not written down.
So human managers have developed terrible communication habits. I've done it. Handing a document to someone and just saying, make this pop.
Make it pop. That is a completely meaningless instruction mathematically. But the human employee wants to keep their job, so they act as a shock absorber. They quietly fix the bad instructions behind the scenes.
Human employees shield bad managers from the consequences of their own vagueness.
Exactly. But when vague instructions meet an AI, there is no shock absorber. The machine doesn't care if you fire it. It reflects your scattered, vague logic right back at you.
Which introduces semantic ambiguity. This is the absolute death knell right now.
Semantic ambiguity means using words that can be interpreted in multiple ways. Words like better, professional, or engaging. To a neural network, those are empty variables. You have to start treating language as literal code.
It's like telling an architect to build a nice house without defining the budget, the square footage, or the materials. If you don't define the variables, the machine is forced to guess.
And in enterprise business, allowing an automated system to guess your intent is professional suicide. Your 20 years of experience won't save you if you can't construct explicit logic.
Okay, but if I'm listening to this right now, I might think, fine, I have bad habits, but I'm smart. Why don't I just fix my prompts when I get a bad output?
That brings us to the psychological barrier, ego.
Ah, yes, the ego trap.
High earners naturally assume that because they possess deep domain expertise, say a decade in logistics or finance, that knowledge automatically translates into operational control of an AI.
They conflate what they know internally with how they instruct externally.
Exactly. And people avoid doing the heavy lifting because it's mentally taxing. Breaking down instinctual knowledge into step-by-step instructions is exhausting.
This is the illusion of transparency. We assume the machine inherently gets our vibe. Let's use a fictional example to make this concrete. Let's talk about Rahul.
Yes, Rahul. He's a perfect composite of this trap. Rahul owns a mid-sized digital marketing agency. 15 years of experience. He knows client acquisition inside and out.
The guy's an expert.
He is. So Rahul decides to automate his agency's outreach emails. He logs in, leans on his 15 years of implicit experience, and types a single sentence. Write a persuasive email to get new clients for a marketing agency.
Oh man, I can already see the output. It's a complete embarrassment. Generic starts with "Dear esteemed business owner," uses the word synergy 3 times.
It sounds like a scam robot. Now, here's the hinge moment for his career. Rahul reads this terrible output. Instead of realizing his input was flawed, his ego takes over.
To protect his identity as an expert.
Right. He laughs it off. He tells his team the tech is overhyped, that it will never replace the human touch, and he completely dismisses the paradigm.
So let me get this straight. Rahul projects 15 years of internal context onto a blank text box, provides 0 constraints, gets mad when it fails to read his mind, and refuses to spend 30 minutes learning the tool.
That is precisely what happens. And if he had just inputted his brand guidelines, 3 past successful emails, and strict negative constraints banning words like synergy, the output would have been flawless.
But that requires treating the system with respect. Rahul falls into anchoring bias instead.
Anchoring bias is so dangerous right now. People anchor their entire worldview of AI on their first unstructured, lazy attempts. They get a bad result on day one, and they dismiss the tech as a gimmick forever.
They voluntarily blind themselves to the leverage because they are anchored to an experience they had 8 months ago with a completely different model.
And psychologically, it's a defense mechanism. Think about it. If you convince yourself the machine is stupid, you don't have to worry about it replacing you. You can sleep peacefully in your mediocrity.
Wow. Your ego protects your immediate feeling of safety at the cost of your long-term survival? That is heavy. But ignoring reality doesn't stop reality from arriving.
No, it doesn't.
Let's pivot to the math, because this is where I get really fired up. What is the literal, quantifiable cost of this cognitive laziness? We have to stop viewing prompt engineering as a soft skill.
It is not a soft skill. It is a highly quantifiable financial asset. It is fundamentally about capital allocation.
Wait, hold on. Capital allocation sounds technical. What does that actually mean for a normal person?
Simple. It just means where you choose to put your money and resources to get the highest return. Imagine it like deciding whether to buy seeds to plant a massive orchard or just buying a single apple to eat right now.
Beautifully put. And whether you're a massive corporation or a solo freelancer, your primary constraint is always time.
Let's run the exact numbers here. Say you employ an operations analyst. Base salary is $80,000. By the time you fully load that with taxes, benefits, and software licenses, that employee costs the business roughly $110,000 annually.
Okay, let's break that down. $110,000 divided by roughly 2,000 working hours in a year. That equates to about $55 an hour. Every hour that person sits at their desk, the company burns $55.
Now compare that to frontier-class AI models. API access costs fractions of a penny per 1,000 words. The machine's literal cost of labor is functionally zero.
But the machine can only execute based on the logic provided by the human. So if your $55 an hour employee wrestles with an interface for 3 hours because they can't prompt properly,
The business just burned $165 in raw human labor costs. And you probably still have a substandard result.
and the opportunity cost. That employee just wasted 3 hours acting as a terrible translator for a machine. They weren't doing strategy. They were just fighting a text box.
This introduces a concept that listeners absolutely must understand: asymmetric leverage.
Wait, hold on. Asymmetric leverage sounds technical. What does that actually mean for a normal person?
Simple. It just means a tiny amount of effort creates a massive, disproportionate result. Imagine it like using a small metal crowbar to effortlessly lift a 2-ton boulder.
I love the crowbar analogy. A properly engineered prompt architecture is the ultimate digital crowbar. It multiplies your cognitive force.
Let's look at 2 fictional scenarios to prove the math. Scenario A, the lazy operator, tasked with generating a weekly variance report.
Okay, the lazy operator types. Write a variance report for this week's numbers. Takes 10 seconds. The machine guesses, generates a flawed report. The operator then spends 2 solid hours manually fixing math errors and formatting.
Total cost: 2 hours of prime cognitive focus. That's $110 burned for 1 repetitive report.
Now, scenario B, the prompt engineer. They spend 20 minutes of deep, rigorous thinking up front. They build a master architecture, define constraints, build a persona, specify markdown table formatting.
It feels slower in the moment, 20 minutes versus 10 seconds. But because the logic is unambiguous, the machine generates the perfect report in 10 seconds. 0 manual editing.
And here is where the math gets mind-blowing. What happens to that 20-minute investment?
It creates a permanent digital asset. That master prompt is infinitely reproducible. The engineer can run it 50 times over the next year just by dropping in new data. The marginal cost drops to absolute 0.
So they invested 20 minutes once to save 100 hours over the year. The lazy operator saved 19 minutes up front just to bleed 2 hours of labor every single week.
When you compound that math across an enterprise, it's horrifying for traditional businesses. The prompt engineer is synthesizing digital workers out of thin air.
You literally created a $60,000 a year employee that works for free, 247.
You cannot compete with an entity executing complex logic at the speed of light for fractions of a cent. It's mathematically impossible to work harder than that.
Which brings us to the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
What happens to you if you ignore this math? Where does this lead in the next 3 years?
The middle class of knowledge work is facing systematic eradication, period. Let's look at path 1. Absolute obsolescence.
Let's take a fictional worker, Steve. Steve refuses to adapt. He relies entirely on his degree and his tenure.
For Steve, the erosion isn't an overnight explosion, it's slow. Easy administrative work disappears first, then drafting proposals. His sphere of influence shrinks.
And because he doesn't know how to build prompt architectures, he tries to compete manually. When his department downsizes, Steve is expected to produce 10 times the output just to justify his salary.
He'll work late nights, sacrifice his health, completely burn out trying to match the speed of a neural network. And ultimately, he will be replaced by a younger operator who knows how to chain 5 AI agents together before lunch.
The market does not care how many late nights you pulled in 2018. It only respects results. If you're not building the logic, you're an expense waiting to be eliminated.
There is no middle ground, which is why we have to focus on path 2, the orchestrator. Let's look at Sarah.
Sarah masters prompt engineering. She stops viewing herself as a worker, trading time for money, and views herself as a manager of intelligence.
She builds vast libraries of digital assets, and in doing so, she decouples her time from her output.
That decoupling is the holy grail. A solo operator like Sarah can take on the workload of an entire agency and capture 100% of the profit margins.
And orchestrators are amplified by new tech. When a smarter model is released, Steve feels threatened. But Sarah, she just plugs her existing prompts into the new engine and gets a free upgrade to her digital workforce.
Her assets get 20% more efficient overnight, and she didn't lift a finger.
This is about true sovereignty over your time. If you don't control the logic, someone else will use that logic to control you.
It's invisible. A factory closing is loud. Software rendering your skills obsolete makes no sound. You just wake up and your market rate is 0.
You have to pivot before the market forces you to. Which leads us to the strategic solution. How do you actually become the orchestrator?
Let's give them the playbook. First, the mindset shift. Stop treating AI like a magic 8-ball.
Treat it like a hyper-competent junior analyst with amnesia. You must engineer the process using strict syntax. There are 3 rules of advanced prompting. Rule number 1, context is everything.
Define the persona and the environment before you ask for execution.
Exactly. Say you want to evaluate a software vendor. Don't ask, should I buy this? Ask, act as a CTO for a mid-sized logistics company on a strict budget. Goal. Evaluate this proposal. Primary concern, gate security.
You just gave it a brain. Rule number 2, strict constraints. Tell it what it's not allowed to do.
Guardrails. Ban specific vocabulary. Tell it, do not use bullet points. Do not write a fluffy introduction. Give me raw data only. By restricting options, you force a highly specific output.
Rule number 3, step-by-step logic. Do not ask for a massive final product in one prompt.
Break the cognitive load down. Ask for an outline first. Review it, approve it, then execute point by point.
Okay, but typing these 500-word structures from scratch every day seems chaotic.
It is. You lose the leverage if you don't centralize. You need an operational hub to store these prompt architectures.
Right. If you're copying from a messy Word document, you're doing it wrong. We highly recommend using platforms like Notion AI for this. It functions as an execution environment where the intelligence lives alongside your actual databases.
It removes the friction completely. You build a
So-
template once with all constraints baked in, and the AI inherently understands your business context because it has access to your workspace.
And listen, we've put the official verified links in the pinned comment below. Don't go searching randomly and get scammed. Use the ones we've checked. You need to set these hubs up securely.
The goal is to systematize your logic. Stop treating your career like a guessing game with a chat box.
We have covered so much ground today. From the psychology of ego to the brutal math of capital allocation, we've gone from a world where memorization was king to a reality where the quality of your logical commands dictates your earning potential.
Stop being the lazy operator who blames the mirror. Use asymmetric leverage to build an infinite digital workforce.
Control the logic, set the constraints, and create digital assets that compound your time.
And think about what this means for the next generation. If knowledge retrieval is financially worthless, maybe the most valuable skill to teach isn't coding, but formal philosophy and logic. Are you just trying to get an answer, or are you learning how to think clearly?
Don't let the future leave you behind. Start earning.